Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers.
And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 16, Episode 51. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being back with us this Monday, Steelers Nation. This victory Monday, the Pittsburgh Steelers get a really important victory, AFC North style, over the Cincinnati Bengals, 34-12 on Sunday. Pittsburgh now 6-4. On the season, maintain clear control of the AFC North, although Baltimore won as well to keep things pretty close. So they were talking 34 points, 2 defensive touchdowns, and 1 spit from Ja'Marr Chase. So a lot going on here. Aaron Rodgers injury, look toward Chicago in Week 12. So much happening. But Dave, how you doing?
Yeah, happy Monday. Well, we got a lot of different things to talk about today. I love Victory Mondays after early games Sundays as well, too, because I was actually able to get to bed at a decent hour last night on Sunday night. First thing, it's like Christmas morning. You go rush and get the snap counts and get the full reel of the all 22 downloaded and playing. And I've already made it through the first half when it comes to that. Yeah, I'm excited about doing the show today. As you mentioned, 6-4 team right now, number 4 seed in the AFC still at this point, still leading the AFC North, and big game against the Bears coming up this next Sunday. But we've got quite a bit of housekeeping to talk about, some good, some bad, and some things that we'll be watching this week, right?
And we'll see if the NFL hands down some lump of coal to Ja'Marr Chase and Jalen Ramsey for their altercation in the second half of this game. We'll talk about that more in just a little bit. Before we get into the housekeeping presented by our friends at Touring Plans, as usual, give us that 30,000-foot view of this game. Pittsburgh winning 34-12. How did Pittsburgh pull this off?
Yak, turnovers. Efficient on third down, converted some third downs, got some good offensive line play from a pass protection situation standpoint. Defense did a good job of rallying to the football. Feels like they played a lot of zone in this one. Ja'Marr Chase, 3 for 30 as far as completions go on. Boy, he had a lot more targets than that. Pressure on Joe Flacco, not a lot of blitzing overall. I think maybe 6 or 7 dropbacks in total, but even so, they were able to stunt quite effectively, I thought, up front, moved Joe Flacco off of his spots, and Flacco held the football a little bit longer in this game. And the two takeaways obviously be both ending in scores was monumental, allowed the Steelers to pull away in the second half, and another 30,000-foot view, I think, in my opinion, was Mason Rudolph came in. It was like riding a bike for him, and he made some good decisions overall. Didn't have to push the football down the field that much. And once again, yak. I think you look at this from an offensive perspective. The Steelers' run game did a good enough job, especially in the first half with Jaylen Warren having a big explosive run. I think in that first drive, the Steelers went down and buried the football in the end zone for 7 points, had 3 plays of 10 yards or longer. You and I talked a lot about, man, I want to see some more 10-yard plus plays. Well, they got a handful in this game overall, and we also talked about, third downs, need to obviously see a higher conversion percentage, and even though they got off to kind of a first third down of the game, I think they converted. They went a handful after that with not converting. You thought maybe they were going to run into the same rut again, but they bounced out of it, converted some third and longs in this game, which is a rarity for this offense, albeit a lot after the catch. And Kenneth Gainwell's another 30,000 view. He did a lot in the passing game. Once again, we saw in this game what made Kenneth Gainwell so attractive to the Steelers in free agency after his time with the Eagles. So that's that's a short and dirty.
Yeah, that sums it up well. This game to me had a feel of 2022, 2023, an offense that still wasn't firing on all cylinders, but did not make any mistakes, did not lose the game, and the defense went out there and won it. The two defensive scores, obviously, but even beyond that, just taking away Ja'Marr Chase, 3 catches, 30 yards on 10 targets, the run defense better. In week 7, some really good cornerback play. This thing started out, Dave. Pittsburgh goes down the field, touchdown. Bengals respond, touchdown of their own. You're saying, okay, here we go. Track meet again, 33-31, coming up part 2. And then things calmed down from there. Pittsburgh really settled in. The offense could not sustain their success, unfortunately. But this one kind of felt like that immediate post-Ben era of, okay, offense, just don't lose the game, make a couple plays, defense, go right us to victory. That's what happened.
Yeah, you win the turnover differential, 2-0, and not only that, your 2 takeaways end up in the end zone. I told you there'd be a defensive touchdown in this one. There were 2 of them, man. I got one of each, a pick 6 and a scoop and score. Obviously, didn't happen with the people involved like I thought it would. But look. Anytime that you can get your defense to get 2 takeaways and not turn over the football on the offensive side, and then not only that, those takeaways ending up in the end zone was absolutely huge. And I thought the defense early on obviously had its problems. They settled in at that point. I thought they were getting adequate pressure on Joe Flacco as the game went along. I was just calling for more hits on Flacco because you had that right AC joint that he was dealing with, and Flacco just did not seem as comfortable as he did in that first meeting between the Bengals and the Steelers a few weeks ago there. And the Bengals weren't able to do a lot of the things that they did with Ja'Marr Chase, and that they tried. They had a few completions to Ja'Marr Chase, getting rubbed off in some one-on-one situations. One early where I think James Pierre had to go over on a pick, and Chase had a completion there. But I thought the Steelers did a good job playing a lot of zone, a lot of too high looks. That early hit on Ramsey on Ja'Marr Chase that even they questioned on the TV broadcast about, was it a little bit late? I think that was a little bit of a tone setter in there. Certainly got inside the head of Ja'Marr Chase, and we saw how that obviously played out between those 2 later on in the game as well too. So the defense, they had a little warts in this. There were some missed tackles at some point at some points in this, but overall they clamped them up. James Pierre, another fantastic game overall. Good for him, and that's all that helped lead the victory in this one.
Yeah, you hold a Bengals offense averaging more than 32 points per game, previously under Flacco to 12 total and only 6 after the first possession of the game. So job well done by this defense. All right, Dave, let's go through the housekeeping. There's lots to talk about there. Before we do that, as always, sponsored by our friends at touringplans.com. If you're planning a trip to Disney, any of the Disney attractions, Disneyland, Disney World, Disney Cruise Lines, which goes all over the place. There's a ton of cool stuff upcoming there. Check out touringplans.com. Let them be your co-pilot to have the best plan in place. Just like a Steelers game plan was great. Have a good game plan with touringplans.com for tips on restaurant reviews, how to save money on tickets, wait times, when it's going to be the shortest wait time in line, all those types of things. Len Testa runs the show at touringplans.com. He's a diehard and longtime Steelers fan, longtime sponsor of our training camp coverage as well. So I'm sure he's happy about the win yesterday. But check out the site, touringplans.com, and tell them Steelers Depot sent you.
They have a great app as well too. So make sure you get over there to the whatever platform that you use as far as the phone and all like that, because their app is top notch as well.
Yeah, check them out while you're on the go. Okay, Dave, deep breath here for all the other housekeeping from this game. From an elevation pregame roster move standpoint, Pittsburgh elevating a pair of players in linebacker Mark Robinson and a debut of Deshaun Jameson, a cornerback that had some depth there. Did not play a snap on defense, but had some kick return work after Keyshawn Williams was concussed on the opening kickoff. So from an injury standpoint, Keyshawn Williams with a concussion. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers is going to be the big story here. Am I missing any other injuries that were... It was Jaylen Warren tweaked an ankle. He went back in for a play. Then there was a timeout called. He didn't finish the game, but seems to be okay. I think he was going to be used if needed, but they felt comfortable with Gainwell finishing it. Is that probably a fair way to sum up Warren's injury?
Yeah, I think so. Well, obviously, the further you get away from game time, see what happened. I'm sure Mike Tomlin will probably mention him on Tuesday during the press conference. It probably wouldn't be shocking if he is limited or misses a practice or so early stages of the week. So we'll just have to see how that goes. And Eccles, I think, left a couple of times and came back into the game. I think he was able to finish, though, was he?
Yeah. He did finish things out, and that was important with the Lions getting in at corner. Let me read inactive players, and then we'll talk about Aaron Rodgers because a lot to talk about there. Obviously, Will Howard, Cole Holcomb, Darius Slay, Alex Highsmith, Andres Pete, Broderick Martin Rhodes, and Logan Lee. Inactive Holcomb with the illness, Darius Slay with his concussion, Highsmith with his pec. He did not practice the entire week. Howard, that emergency third-string quarterback that becomes a bit more relevant now that Aaron Rodgers has a left wrist injury. This happened late in the first half. That final drive of the half, Rodgers took a shot, landed hard on his hands as he tried to break his fall. He was seen immediately after clutching his left wrist. That's the non-throwing hand, which is a positive sign. He finished out the drive through one completion to Roman Wilson, went to the locker room, was not seen in the second half. Mason Rudolph finished out the game. Going to get imaging, more testing today to have a definitive word on the injury and his status going forward. The belief is, according to reports, as of 10:30 a.m. Monday, there's a slight break in that left wrist. His status for the Chicago game week 12 is 50-50. It's unclear if he's going to play or not. It's unclear if surgery would be needed. And where they go from here, we'll just have to wait and see. Of course, if Rodgers cannot play, then Rudolph will get the start against Chicago on Sunday.
Ain't nobody know what's going on with Aaron Rodgers right now, even though Florio and the rest of these Rappaport and Aaron Rodgers supposedly telling people that he has a chance. No, Aaron's so private, it's hard to believe some of that stuff leaks out. But I think the big overarching thought here is, and look, I try to slow it down and break down what the play that we think that injury happened on. It's so hard to see after that left hand and wrist hits the ground. What really happened. It didn't seem that major, the initial fall, but you can't really see the defensive player landing on top of him and all. And obviously Aaron grabbed the wrist right after that, and I think he stayed in and threw one more pass over there to the left side to Pat Frymouth, and then the field goal team comes out and does that, and then we don't see Aaron anymore after that. The way he was rubbing that wrist obviously was some discomfort, and I do believe the report that he tried to get back into the game, but they said no on that. But we're just going to have to wait and see on this. And, I don't think it's major. I don't feel like it's major. That's my Twitter doctor opinion here. But, funny things happen here and slight fracture and all like that. I'm sure at some point maybe we'll have Dr. Mel maybe do a write-up on this after a little bit maybe is known about the nature of the injury and how severe it is overall. But even though it is the non-throwing hand and all like that, he still has to have the ability to protect himself and fall, So people saying, cast it up and all like that. The biggest thing is, the good news is it's not the throwing hand, but he still has to have the ability to go to the ground and not do further damage here. So, that's obviously going to be something to watch. Do I know which way? Do I have even a good prediction of which way this is going to go this week against the Bears? No, other than to say, I don't think maybe you can completely rule him out at this point, but I don't think anybody really knows. And we'll see what Mike Tomlin has to say on Tuesday, because the players don't talk on Monday or Tuesday. So that might be our next legitimate, real, line in the sand as far as the exact nature of the injury and maybe a timetable here overall. It won't be shocking, obviously, if he misses this game against the Bears. But look, this is a game that Aaron Rodgers has probably had circled on the calendar for quite some time, right? Long time quarterback of the Packers, and obviously looking forward to playing the Bears in
And has owned the
Chicago.
Bears in his career.
Yeah, he's played really well against the Bears over his career as a member of the Packers and all like that. So you have to think he's going to do everything imaginable he can to potentially play in this game, but he can't do so just to do it without having the ability to protect himself. So we'll see how that goes. Back to the housekeeping real quick in the inactive list specifically. Several obviously give me's on this. We knew Will Howard would be the emergency third quarterback. We knew Darius Slay was ruled out. We knew Cole Holcomb was ruled out. We knew Alex Highsmith was ruled out. It was a little bit surprising to see how that progressed with Alex Highsmith throughout the week.
Yeah, no one talked about it. And
Yeah.
just didn't practice the entire week, and he was out.
Yeah, and you turn around, you get to Friday, and he's ruled out there. So that was a bit of a surprise there. Isaac Seumalo, I guess wrong on him. Being as how he did not practice on Friday, I kind of took that as a negative sign, and I predicted him to be inactive and for Andres Pete to be up. Well, it obviously ended up being the other way around. If you look at the tape overall, on the TV tape and the All-22 tape on this, he looked no worse for wear when it came to that pec injury there. So they were probably just being cautious with him at the end of the week there, after I think he had a couple of limited practices early in the week there. So he was up. Obviously the two guys that they promoted from the practice squad in who was it? Mark Robinson and Deshaun Jameson. Both those guys were active in uniform, and that left your other two inactives. I kind of wondered if Keyshawn Williams would be down and whether or not this team would dress 6 wide receivers. Kind of question that. I predicted that Keyshawn Williams would be inactive. Well, he was active along with Scotty Miller, who was back from his finger injury, obviously, and that left the two defensive linemen, Logan Lee and Broderick Martin Rhodes, as the two scratches there. I predicted Logan Lee would dress and Martin or Broderick Martin Rhodes would not. It ended up both those guys being inactive there. So not earth-shattering, obviously, as far as the inactive list went, but it went a little bit different than what I kind of expected it to go.
It was good to see Seumalo play and then finish the game, something that hadn't been happening the last couple of instances, and obviously missed last week. So happy that he seems to be turning the corner on that pec injury. We'll see if Slay can come back. He practiced limited Friday, so that's a sign he's working his way through protocol. And then Holcomb and Highsmith we'll see as well. With Rodgers, he normally speaks on Wednesdays, and so if he does speak to the media this week, that'll be the day we'll hear from Rodgers. As you said, Mike Tomlin will speak on Tuesday and shed some light on his status. I assume they'll be limited or no practice, probably no practice early in the week for Rodgers to kind of take it from there. He was spotted post-game in the tunnel in a hoodie. His left hand that was injured in the hoodie pocket. There was a brace. You could tell with some sort of brace on that left wrist. And so that's all we really know about the injury right now. No surprise to see a brace and some sort of apparatus on there, given the injury. And yeah, we'll just have to see what the testing today looks like, because until you really get that testing and the imaging, you don't know for sure the severity. Is it a hairline fracture? Is it a more severe break? Where is it at? What is going to be the protocol? If surgery is needed, then you really think he wouldn't play this Sunday. You wonder about maybe a multi-week absence there. But until you get that imaging done, you really have that true confidence in this is the injury, this is the diagnosis. You're just kind of probably guessing a little bit, and we just have to wait and see.
I'll give you my professional and non-professional opinion here.
Dr. Dave is in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers will either play on Sunday against the Bears or he won't.
That's why you go to medical school for 4 years, right? For that kind of analysis.
Yeah, and if he doesn't play, this could end up being I'm going to give you the perfect media spin here. This could be a multi-week injury here.
So the options are play, not play, or multi-week. Dr. Dave, bill is in the mail.
And look, I know these, I know these inside guys try to get what they can out there and all like that. Like I said at top, I don't think anybody really has a firm grasp on this, and I would imagine the biggest thing, as I said, is whether or not he can protect himself. I think that would be the biggest thing overall. Because obviously it's not on the throwing hand here, but you just worry about him going down to the ground and how he'll be able to brace himself in such a manner, and if that could potentially lead to further damaging the injury if he is if it's not severe.
The good news is, if Rodgers cannot play, Pittsburgh has a very capable and trusted backup in Mason Rudolph. He was signed back for this purpose, to be the clear number 2, to be that guy off the bench, which he was yesterday and did so admirably. If there was sort of one silver lining to the injury, it happened right around halftime, so he had a good window of time to really prepare. Rodgers told Rudolph at halftime, hey, you're going in. I'm not playing in this game. Even though he did try to come back, this team said, no, we're not going to risk it there. So Rudolph came in, took care of the football, made some plays, won this game as Pittsburgh pulled away in the second half. Obviously, the 2 defensive scores played a big role in Pittsburgh doing so in the second half, but if Rudolph has to start on Sunday, he'll have the whole week of practice. He's been there. He's done that. He's a guy that's played in every situation imaginable, off the bench, starting, last-second COVID stuff. I mean, this guy's been through every possible scenario effectively, so there's going to be some level of comfort in that if the team has to turn to Rudolph for this weekend.
Yeah, and absolutely, I think it was key that he had the whole halftime to prepare, and he talked about getting with Arthur Smith and going over, plays that he submitted that he had liked and things that they had run already as compared to that. And he still admitted he was a little bit nervous, still gets a little bit nervous going into every game, but he seemed to settle in real quick. Overall there, and obviously the offense was able to at least move the football overall. Before we get a little bit deeper into Mason Rudolph and things that transpired in the game, what's your take on the injury?
In terms of how much time Rodgers could miss, if any?
Yeah. I mean, are you where I'm at? We're not really, nobody really has a good sense of this thing yet, or did you get a good look at the injury? Is indeed him being able to protect himself probably the biggest aspect of this?
I think that's fair. I flunked out of medical school, so I didn't graduate in your class, Dave. My guess is that he'll miss this game, that Pittsburgh will want to give him the extra time to rest and recover, but it's just going to depend on the imaging today and what the medical, the MRI or whatever they do, X-ray, whatever they're going to do to examine Rodgers shows. So my default is he's not going to play until told otherwise, but we will just have to wait and see.
Let me clarify. The closest I'll be compared to a doctor is just my signature. It's very very unreadable, and that's the only comparison that maybe perhaps you could make me to a doctor. But we'll see. I'm interested to hear if any reports come out. I know Ian Rappaport had the one this morning, and they all try to follow. They all follow each other, and I know it's a 50-50 what Rappaport said, and Rodgers wants to play, and all like that. But we'll just have to wait and see how this turns out. I've got really no good sense of what's going to happen here.
If we do get clarification on the specifics of the injury, an actual doctor, or Dr. Melanie Friedlander, I'm sure will write something up and give you the details on that. So look for that later in the week if we get some more clear information on the exacts of the injury. Okay, Dave, let's go to this game. Pittsburgh winning this one 34-12. I think last time after week 7, we did the podcast. We started with a defense for all the wrong reasons. Let's talk about the defense for all the right reasons for holding this Bengals passing attack in check. Joe Flacco for $199, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 1 sack. Ja'Marr Chase, just 3 catches for 30 yards on 10 targets. After that, 16, 161, and 1 line just a couple of weeks ago. Night and day difference for this defense, Dave.
Absolutely, and you obviously have a different safety pairing this time around. I just think that the picture was a lot different for Joe Flacco this time around, and once again they played. It seemed like they played a lot of too high, a lot of zone overall in this one, saving I think most of the man stuff for like third down, second and long type situations overall. They didn't blitz Flacco a lot. You saw a lot of stunts. Even the three linebacker package on the field seemed to be effective. Nick Herbig, once again, really showed up on tape with the pressures, and obviously had the sack in this. Joe Flacco just looked a little bit more uh, not not expecting, unsure what he was going to get more on a down to down basis. Now the Bengals did come out trying to, emphasize the run. I thought overall, there were some hiccups obviously, early on against the run, but I thought gap integrity and not getting moved as much up front obviously helped settle that down there. But there were a lot of times that Joe had to hold on to the football and was moved off his spot. And, even when he was not moved off of his spot, there seemed to be a lot more uncertainty as far as where he was going to go with the football. And I think that played a huge component in this. And when he did get the ball out, the Steelers rallied to the ball up underneath. And, there were unfortunately some missed tackles that led to some bigger plays. And then obviously you don't like to see the couple of the third and longs completed against them, more specifically, I think early in this game there. But just, kept a lid on things, obviously clamped up on Ja'Marr Chase a little bit more in this game, even though he did have 10 targets overall. They did a good job of not letting the ball go his way. And I think most of the even I think Yak as a whole, they gave up like 100 something yards after the catch on this, but I think those specifically came on, a handful of plays overall. So I thought they did a good job of coming downhill, protecting the sticks and tackling the catch overall there. And it goes without saying that the takeaways, I think you did a great job on the film room of Kyle Duggar interception there, really kind of baited him into that. This came, I think, after Kyle Duggar almost had one earlier in the game as well too. But a robber type situation. I don't think Joe Flacco expected Duggar to be where he was, and I mean, I got to give Joe Flacco accuracy credit on that. It was thrown right to Duggar, and Duggar did what
The
you
pressure made a big difference. I mean,
right.
you had Herbig
Herbig,
and Watt influencing that.
right. Uh, Duggar did exactly what he was supposed to do. He caught the football, and then the return aspect. And you even noted last night that Herbig downfield, helping blocking on all that. So look, not only turnovers are huge, but you know they become magnified even more when both those balls end up in the end zone. So a good rip out, obviously, I think right after the start of the fourth quarter there, and then James Pierre picking that one up and taking it to the house there. The few times that Flacco tried to go deeper down the field, obviously on the opening drive to T. Higgins, you look at that. Had the extended play aspect of that really came into to play there, because you're playing more of a zone. I think Pierre runs across the middle of the field there, and that leaves Jack Sawyer to try to have to run after T. Higgins breaks off his route, goes out and up. That obviously was an extended play action there, and it's just one of those things where you just kind of get caught in between, if you will. And Flacco made the play. Higgins did a good job of turning his route up, and so you get caught on that one. And then another one where they try to go down the middle of the field. Great play by James Pierre to run stride for stride. Who was that? Higgins on that one, I
No,
think.
that was Chase.
Chase on that one, and did a good job of getting a hand and knocking that pass away, because that has the makings of an explosive, a double, maybe even triple explosive play on that one. So as far as down the field passing, past 10, 12, 15 yards down the field. The Steelers did a very, very good job on that. Once again, even though there was 100 something yards, I think, yards after the catch on that, most of that seemed to come on like 2 or 3 plays.
Just one interruption for some Steelers adjacent news. Juan Thornhill has a new home. He is signing with the Jacksonville Jaguars practice squad, so he'll look to make an impact for Jacksonville after being cut last week by the Steelers. When I think about his defensive performance, Dave, my first thought goes to the cornerbacks because they were excellent. It's a big difference, and there's some cornerback changes. Obviously, last time Pittsburgh played, Cincinnati had Darius Slay in the game. You had Jalen Ramsey playing corner, not safety. And so the trio of Joey Porter Jr., James Pierre, and Brandon Echols are the story of this defense. Not the only part of it. It's a good team effort, but just across the board, my charting has them targeted 11 times, allowed 3 catches for like 18 yards. It's a quarterback rating of 39.6 against, which is the same quarterback rating you have when you just throw the ball into the ground when you're 0 for 1. And so that kind of sums up how well that group played. You had the Pierre breakup on that post route by Chase, like you said, great timing, running stride for stride. Pierre physically, super talented guy. Like he can play man coverage, and he's played some great football. He's having the best season of his career by far. Echols was solid, playing inside, playing outside, battling injury, had the forced fumble that Pierre returned for a touchdown and to really seal that game for sure. Porter's just been really good. That one deep ball, I think, to Chase left side, or maybe it was Higgins down the left sideline, incomplete.
Got his hands on him and all, got him kind of disrupted. Press. Yeah.
I mean, you can't say enough about that group. That's a tough challenge. You're facing some of these top receivers. You're facing a team that just carved you up last time. I'm sure maybe the wind conditions helped a little bit. It's harder to throw the ball downfield. Worried about some of the gusty winds, and maybe that changed kind of the contour of the offense for both sides a little bit. But regardless, I thought you just had a really strong showing from those 3 cornerbacks.
Yeah, and I think we'll talk about this a little bit. That's a good point when we get to talking about the offense as well too. How much did the wind play factor in pressing the football down the field? At more than 10 yards, because obviously you didn't see a lot of that in this game overall, outside of maybe the touchdown to Higgins, the deep one to Chase that Pierre broke up, and the Steelers really didn't push the football down the field all that much. I think he had a deep kind of corner to Metcalf that, I don't know, what was Aaron's reaction out of that? Did he think the wind took that maybe a little bit on that one? It's hard to tell for sure overall, but I do wonder how much the wind did play in both quarterbacks' decisions, or all 3 quarterbacks, of pushing the football down the field in this one. But yeah, look, the secondary really had a chip on their shoulder, and they understood the assignment overall, especially when it came to Ja'Marr Chase, and to hold that guy on 10 targets to 3 catches for 30 yards was monumental. That was his lowest output of the season, I think, for Ja'Marr Chase this year. And even though they tried to do a lot of the same things that they did last time, and they had some limited success with Ja'Marr Chase out of like 2-man stack type situations and rubbing them off. As I mentioned, one early in the game where just good execution on their part, and James Pierre has to go over, left Ja'Marr Chase going across the center wide open, but they tackled the catch right away as well there. So and just I think just a totally different picture. It felt like they played a lot more zone in this one, and obviously with having Duggar and Ramsey in there was a little bit different picture for Joe Flacco as well. And I just thought the pressure overall, especially with some of these stunts that you saw, did a good job of kind of muddying up the look with Flacco for him to have to hold. Because remember, the last time he got the ball out extremely quick against the Steelers, where this time I think he held it for well over 3 seconds. And anytime you have that happen, you have the aspect of the old Russian and coverage playing hand in hand. That really was evident for a good part of this game overall for the Steelers defense.
Over 3 seconds. I wonder the last time that happened for Flacco, because he's been a quick trigger kind of a guy.
Mm-hmm. Let me see if I can get you the exact stats on on
Yeah,
time
and
to
by the
throw.
way, not only Chase, his lowest output of the season, his fewest yards ever against the Pittsburgh Steelers, just the 30 yards, and the catches only 3, tied the fewest he's ever had against the Steelers. And by the way, one of those receptions and over half those yards came on the last drive where it was meaningless, a 16-yard reception, left sideline, made maybe one guy miss, and who cares? And so really it's 2 catches for 14 yards in quote unquote meaningful action, which really just drives home the point about Pittsburgh's success all the more.
All right, Next Gen Stats actually has him at 2.79 time to throw for Joe Flacco, but there was a point in the game that I think even CBS made that it was over 3 seconds. So
Yeah, that last drive might have skewed the numbers with Pittsburgh
right.
playing soft and Flacco throwing a couple of quick passes.
All right, so they obviously sacked him once. I think they blitzed him like 6 times. I think the Steelers registered 13 pressures against him overall in this one. And what he was 23 of 40, so just a hair, 60, just a hair over 50%, obviously a little bit higher than that overall, and 199 passing yards, I think, and 100 and something, 101, 103, I forget what the number was, came after the catch on that. So the Steelers defense obviously did a much better job in this one in handling Flacco and more notably Ja'Marr Chase.
And those 2 defensive touchdowns, first time Pittsburgh has had 2 defensive scores in the game since 2023, only the 3rd time it's ever happened in the Mike Tomlin era. And so those were splash weighty plays that Pittsburgh is culturally ingrained to do. You're not going to get that kind of stuff every single week, obviously, but it's no surprise to see those guys make those kinds of plays. It is the expectation in Pittsburgh. The run defense, the numbers don't look great overall. Bengals ran for 105 yards, 4.8 yards per carry. Chase Brown still busted a couple of good runs like that Week 7 contest, including that 35-yarder to open up the second half. But I thought there wasn't that consistent surge that the Bengals had in that first meeting where the Bengals were consistently on schedule. The pile was always moving forward. Brown was getting 5-6 yards basically every single touch. You got a couple of big runs in this one, which is a negative, obviously, but I think overall Pittsburgh had the pile fall in their favor. They got some stops. It wasn't that consistent, just war of attrition that the Bengals won. They had a couple of runs, but other than that, Pittsburgh did hold things in check, and so that's an improvement as well.
Yeah, 105 yards after the catch for the Bengals in this game, but that pales in comparison. What we're going to talk about when we get to the Steelers' offense had 226 yards after the catch, and I told you Yak needed to be back a big portion of this game as part of the Steelers winning, and boy, was it.
Yeah, no question about that. We'll talk about that extensively with the offensive side of the football. The front did a nice job. The 3 outside linebacker package is really working well up and generating a lot of pressure, including on that Duggar pick 6. You had Herbig loop around to the opposite side, B-gap, and he came in free, and Watt got pressure, and so that was a really big component of it. It's been highly effective. I think Keanu Benton's playing the best football of his career by far. I mean, his pass rush has been really, really impressive. He's winning in different ways. Didn't get a sack in this game. Only Herbig got a sack in this one, but he was consistently whooping on some of those rookie guards the Bengals have at left guard and right guard. So I think Keanu Benton is just on a heater right now.
Yeah, the last, 3 or 4 games or so on that. Was this his most complete one as far as run defense combined with pass rush and all? It kind of felt like it might have been.
I got to watch y'all 22. I have not gotten into it yet. I charted the defense last night. The Colts game might be a tough one to beat because that was a really good offensive line, and Benton played a whale of a game in that one, but this one might be up there.
Yeah, he played, 39 of 66 snaps, I think, in this one?
Cam Hayward, solid game as usual. Some of the stuff might not be shown in the box score, but that 2-point try the Bengals had, he shocks back the left guard, forces the runner to bounce it and stay lateral, and then Queen comes in free and cleans it up. So did Y.A. Black, who got a good amount of burn in this game. So I think the defensive line did a nice job. How about even Asezi Otomewa? I mean, he played a good amount of snaps in this one, about a dozen snaps. He was chasing the ball hard. He got a pressure quarterback hit in this one. So Otomewa has been active. Wasn't active at the beginning of the year. It was Logan Lee. And then Otomewa got the hat about week 3, week 4. was playing 1-2 snaps a game, but his role has increased throughout the season. He's getting 9-10 snaps a game, and he's putting together some good tape.
Was he kind of, you've done the charting already, right? He played, I think, 14 snaps on that. Was he at any of those snaps, do you have him listed as maybe an outside linebacker kind of role?
No, I don't think anything at outside linebacker. I don't know if anything got funky in the 3 outside linebacker package. I don't think he played any defensive line snaps in that one. He was playing just defensive end, defensive tackle. But I mean, he was running after the ball in that last drive. He had at least one effort tackle downfield. And so obviously effort's a big part of the values and kind of ethos of a Steelers defensive lineman. Cam Hayward's been famously one of the best hustle players, maybe of any defensive lineman in modern era history. But Otomewa is a good athlete, and he's running after the ball hard, but again, getting pressure, playing good run defense. And so a little shout out to Otomewa.
All right. Good on him. Yeah. Yeah,
Anything
that was a great clip of, and you can really see it really better on the all 22 with Cam Hayward on that 2-point conversion, shocking back that left guard and playing a huge part in that what was it, a wildcat run failing.
Yeah, Hayward has terrorized Bengals left guards for years and years, and even though maybe this wasn't his best game in getting a ton of pressure, the run defense was still, I thought, really good, at least on first watch. Anything else here defensively? Chuck Clark coming in, replacing Jalen Ramsey. I thought they did a nice job there. The communication overall, really no coverage bust. He did have 10 men on the field one time. Bengals went tempo against the Steelers, 3 outside linebacker package after an early third down conversion. Sawyer came off. Benton should have gone on. Then Benton was pulled back off. They had 10 guys. Luckily, Porter broke up the pass on the play, so there was no real damage or consequence to that. But that is the one downside to that 3 outside linebacker look. If you do convert against it, teams may go tempo to try to run on it, you would presume. The Bengals didn't run on it. They should have in this case. But that is another substitution issue the second time this year where they've had just 10 guys on the field, and that just can't happen.
Agreed. Nick Herbig seems to continue to make small strides against the run defense as a run defender. That I thought showed up on a couple of plays in this game as well too. And it's funny too about this secondary, man. They've had to. This secondary is not what they
what they planned.
This secondary is not what they had planned coming out of obviously training camp and the preseason. But I don't know, maybe their own misfortune is as far as injuries and necessity is actually working out as a good thing overall there, because Ramsey by the game looks more and more comfortable at free safety. Duggar's obviously been around a couple of weeks now and seems a lot more comfortable in there. And then James Pierre, what can you say about what that guy has brought over the last couple of weeks? And
how much money is James Pierre making for the offseason, Dave? Is he tracking that way? It feels like it.
Look, I mean, just as the guy has always been a sound special teams player, right? That's what's enabled him to keep the foot in the league. That's what's allowed him to come back to the Steelers. That and obviously having knowledge of the defense and all like that. But he really has made himself some extra money when it comes to an outside cornerback there, and specifically with the Steelers. I mean, is this going to be a guy that's in huge demand after the season? Well, he will be in more demand than he was just as a special teams player, but he's got obviously some comfortability in this defense. The Steelers have a lot more trust in him. He's night and day as far as how he uses his eyes. Remember Keith Butler, I specifically saying that, they like a lot of things that James Pierre did, but sometimes his eyes gets him in trouble, or had in the past. And I don't think you're seeing that anymore with him. And he's a very reliable tackler. He's a very physical guy on top of it. And he has never looked more comfortable as an outside cornerback in this defense throughout his entire career.
Gives me those Akella Witherspoon vibes as a big corner that's good in man coverage, that's been inconsistent throughout his career, some highs, some lows, running hot, running cold, but he's red hot right now. Now, I think Pierre's a much bigger guy, a more physical guy, a better tackler than Witherspoon was, but that's kind of the vibe I'm getting on Pierre. So that late career resurgence. Yeah, you're right, David. It's funny to think about all the depth charts and ideas we had back in July, August. This is how it's going to go. Slay and Ramsey and Porter are your three, and it's James Pierre. That's not one of your best cover corners. It's the old phrase of man plans, God laughs. The football gods are laughing at Pittsburgh for that summer plan that can change so much based on injuries and just you never know how a season is going to go. But bottom line is you're getting some really good cornerback play, not just from Pierre, but Eccles. I thought Porter did a great job of man coverage on Chase. I mean, he was really sticky on some of those in-breaking routes, including that 10-men play that I just referred to. So, I mean, I think Porter has not gotten the credit for playing some good man coverage. I know this story's been the penalties and dropped interceptions, missed opportunities, but in pure man coverage, I think he's done a nice job.
Yeah, especially the last couple of weeks he has as part of this change up in the back end of things. And once again, anytime that you can get the rushing coverage to go hand in hand like it did in this game against the Bengals, you saw the fruits of that, and they're key moments in the game where you got to make plays. Pierre obviously made a couple of them. Joey Porter made a couple of them, and there's another Ramsey early in the game had a knockout of the ball. And I just think the overall tone setting and physical aggressiveness of that secondary has helped bring a little bit of an edge back to this unit on the back end as well.
All right, Dave, should we not bury the lead any longer on the Jalen Ramsey, Ja'Marr Chase stuff? I know by the time people listen to this, there may be some information from the NFL about punishments and handing down any sort of final word there, at least before appeals. But let's kind of go through what happened early in the fourth quarter. You had a very chippy game. You had a lot of smack talk throughout the game between Ja'Marr Chase and Jalen Ramsey and Joey Porter Jr., all common stuff, all fair game. You had what was it, a third down play where the Bengals try to run up the middle. They don't convert, kind of get a little scrum there between a bunch of guys. You get flags on Ramsey and Chase for unsportsmanlike conduct. They offset, so you're now facing 4th and 1. Bengals go to the line, hard count. Steelers Nation is going crazy, super, super loud. Bengals don't run a play. They call timeout. Usually both sides go to the sidelines, and that's that. Ramsey and Chase link up. They're standing next to each other. You see Ramsey throw a punch. Chase's helmet comes off, gets crazy again. Ramsey, another personal foul. He gets ejected. No penalty on Ja'Marr Chase. And then post-game, Ramsey says that Chase spit on him. Chase denied spitting on him, but video that's going around the internet very much clearly shows that Ja'Marr Chase lied. He did spit on Jalen Ramsey. It was not seen by the officials. The ref said they did not see any incident like that. It's under review by the NFL, and so now we wait on any potential further punishment. Will Ja'Marr Chase get suspended? Will Jalen Ramsey get suspended, or will he just be fined? We shall see, but that is the summation of it. Ramsey ejected, Chase spit, lied about it, refs didn't see it, and we wait for further word.
Well, this obviously started earlier in the game, and probably more specifically, like I said, with the kind of the questionable late, and it wasn't all that egregious. I think the TV made
Yeah,
it.
ball got tipped. Yeah, when they slow it down like that, it always
Right.
looks a whole lot worse than
Right.
in reality.
But obviously, I think Ja'Marr Chase took issue to that. There was some jawing from that point forward. Look, Jalen Ramsey's a talker. Joey Porter's a talker. Ja'Marr Chase is a talker. That just started to escalate. I mean, that just continued to escalate as the game went on. Now, had Chase not spit on Ramsey, does Ramsey show more self-control in that situation? I think so, but I'll tell you, Jalen Ramsey's not going to tolerate being spit on, and he did not tolerate being spit on in that. And the way, even though you could not see the actual spitting in the initial TV replays there, you could tell something triggered Jalen Ramsey to do what he did, and then immediately, right after that, the couple of TV replays there, the speculation started to come out that did he did Ja'Marr Chase spit on him? And immediately after the game, Ramsey said he did. Ja'Marr Chase said he didn't. In today's day and age, there's cameras everywhere. And props to, I think that was a Bengals reporter that had the footage. He definitely spit on Ramsey there. So unquestionable when it comes to that. Ja'Marr Chase lied about it there. Now Ramsey was ejected from the game. I think Ramsey gets fined in that situation. I do not think any further suspension is warranted because it was a reactionary to a spit and because he was ejected from that game. I think obviously there's going to be a fine forthcoming for Ja'Marr Chase. And I think Ja'Marr Chase should be suspended for a game because he technically should have been thrown out of that game. If you're throwing Ramsey out of that game and knowing what you know now, Ja'Marr Chase should have been ejected from that game as well, too. Well, the Steelers did not have Ramsey for, almost 20 snaps of that game. And it was the game was still pretty much, I think, did that happen before the turnovers?
It was 20-9 when
Okay.
the incidents occurred.
Okay, my opinion on this is both players should get fined, and you the spitting is just something that cannot happen or be tolerated. All right, so and if Ramsey had not been thrown out of the game, I think that maybe there's a chance that he gets suspended in an extra game. Yeah, but you went ahead and tossed him, and you did not toss Ja'Marr. I think Ja'Marr needs to be suspended a game.
You hear players talk about it, and Nightcap was talking about it last night, but other former players have said the same, that they can tolerate a lot. A lot of things can be not accepted, but given a pass to, quote unquote. Spitting is not one of those things. It's basically the worst thing you can do to somebody on a football field. You can punch him, you can say whatever. You spit on somebody, that is seen as a felony offense as far as the football field goes. I wasn't sure at first what the NFL's reaction would be to spitting. I think I was getting myself mixed up because Jalen Carter was not suspended for spitting on Dak back in week 1, but that happened before the first snap even occurred. And so the NFL viewed that ejection, which Carter was ejected for spitting, as a de facto 1-game suspension. So I imagine to be basically consistent and to also send a very strong message for players to not spit on one another, that Chase will be suspended. Ramsey's interesting. A fine is obvious. That's going to happen with Ramsey. Will he be suspended? I think there's a chance. I think the NFL will see the spitting at Chase as a mitigating factor of why Ramsey punched. It's obvious that's why Ramsey threw the punch. It happened right after Chase spit on him. But I think there's still a chance Ramsey could get suspended. Deron Payne was suspended for a week last Monday for throwing a punch against the Lions. And so the NFL may have to feel the need to stay consistent and suspend Ramsey for 1 game as well. So we shall see.
I'll be disappointed. I see your side of it. I'm not going to say that it definitely won't happen. I will be disappointed. My old man used to always tell me, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And Ramsey.
That's not how the NFL polices it, though.
I know.
And people probably know the answer to this by the time they listen, so maybe all moot, but we're just kind of giving our thoughts here before the news comes out.
Yeah, and look, there's one guy in the NFL that you don't spit on and expect something to happen. I think that's Jalen Ramsey there. And once again, the fact that he was tossed out of that game, I think plays into this. In other words,
if it was earlier, sure, but fourth quarter, they're not going to view that as a suspension.
Yeah. You know? I hope they look at it as none of this. I hope they look at this as Chase escalating and asking for it, so to speak. Not that I'm not sitting here and saying it was justified what Ramsey's reaction was, but I can certainly understand it there. And taking all my fandom and everything out here, I think the appropriate thing to do, maybe Ramsey gets the higher fine because Chase would stand to lose a game check if suspended. So maybe you give Ramsey a sportier quote unquote fine. Don't suspend him for a game and then suspend Chase for a game, and then obviously he's going to lose a game check, which is essentially a fine on part of it. But
Well, fines are set by the
yeah,
NFL. They're codified in the CBA. There's a set unless you did something extra. I mean, if the NFL does not suspend Ramsey, it'll be on the basis of we understand why Ramsey threw the punch because of Chase's spit that was not called, and so we're not going to kind of punish Ramsey again for a pretty understandable reaction to what Chase did that was not caught by the officials. That would be the reason to not suspend Ramsey. Maybe that happens. I'm hopeful, obviously, that happens, but I think it could go either way.
all right. Look, you even saw Ryan Clark, who's a big Chase fan because he comes out of LSU and all. He obviously had strong words about Ja'Marr Chase after the game on Twitter, and Ocho Cinco, who's obviously a big Bengals fan, really got on Ja'Marr as well too. You don't spit on another guy.
Yeah, it's unacceptable. Chase is in the wrong, and then to blatantly lie about it too, unless he was just is so kind of blacked out from that moment. I don't know, but
Well,
I mean,
he's not.
he just lied about
He's
it.
not gonna. What do you expect him to say? Yeah, I did it, and
Well, I
I
don't think
do it
lying
again.
helps I don't think lying helps your case. You could give a non-answer. I don't know, but I mean, just to sit there and lie about it when the cameras have you, dead to rights, spitting on him, it's not going to help you in the NFL's eyes. It certainly won't help you in the public opinion's eyes either.
Right, right. I mean, I didn't
So,
expect Ja'Marr Chase to come out and say, "Yeah, I spit on him, and I do it again." But
but to lie about it is that help? It's not who's that helping? Who's that
well,
serving?
he was ignorant to think that there's not cameras anywhere, and
That's what I'm saying.
you know,
I can lie about it. Maybe they won't catch me, but eye in the sky does not lie, and it caught Ja'Marr Chase. So suspension likely there. We'll see. Ramsey is the one. I just don't know which way this one's going to go. It may be a suspension for Ramsey too.
all right. I hope not, but
Sure.
you
Yeah, and
just
maybe
you
not.
just hate to see this stuff happen.
Yeah, yeah. Kind of detracted from a good win overall. All right, Dave. Let's go over to the Steelers offense, and it was thought.
Real quick.
Mhm.
The roughing call on full weight by T.J. Watt on Flacco.
Terrible call. First of all, hate the rule. My least favorite rule, and I've said that. I was watching the Ravens-Bears game a couple weeks ago, and they had a body weight call on Lamar. Terrible rule. It was not even correctly applied to T.J. Watt. He was sliding off. He kind of caught Flacco on the side. So, should not have been flagged, and the rule should not exist in the first place.
Right. Yeah. Horrible call.
Yeah. All right, flipping over to the Steelers offense, and not a banner day for this group. It was a great first drive, touchdown drive. Aaron Rodgers to Kenneth Gainwell with the first of 2 receiving touchdowns, and then things really got quiet from there. Mason Rudolph comes in second half, led a really strong touchdown drive, and it may not have been this dot 'em up kind of drive, but it was really, really important. 12 plays, 65 yards, 6 minutes off the fourth quarter. And Pittsburgh's offense was cold, literally and figuratively, from a production standpoint, and they had not touched the ball in about 45 minutes at that point because of the pick six by Duggar, the Bengals' long drive, the Ramsey Chase stuff that delayed the game by several minutes. And so the offense had been on the sidelines for, in real time, literally about 45 minutes. And they come out there, 12 plays, 65 yards, 2 third-down conversions, Rudolph finding Gainwell for his second receiving score of the day. That was a really impressive drive. But for the offense as a whole, it was not where it needs to be, especially against the Bengals defense that is historically bad.
Yeah, very well managed drive overall, and they overcame some negativity in that as well too. Because remember, Caleb Johnson on a nice, he ran for 13 yards, but had a grip of the face mask, so that set him back to a 1st and 23. And you're thinking to yourself, he had a nice drive moving here, but then even though you got that negativity on the 1st and 23, a well-designed play over to the right side by Kenneth Gainwell. Nice catch of the football as well too. Tremendous yak on that play as well too. That was that the kind of the turning point play maybe to Gainwell, even though I think the Steelers were up, 20-12 at that time. I mean, a 1st and 23 from the Bengals 35-yard line to get the play to Gainwell over to the right with a huge yak to not only give the first down but get you first and goal situation. That showed a lot of things on it because this team also overcame a 3rd and 11 earlier in the couple plays earlier on that pass over to the right side by Gainwell for 20 yards on that one as well too there. So just a managed drive overall from Mason Rudolph. Look, you're going to look at this. You got to look at this from a statistical standpoint. This is why I said I wonder how much the wind played in this as well too. Mason Rudolph, his intended air yard distance overall average on his pass attempts was like 3 something yards, and his completed air yard distance was like 0.33 yards past the line of scrimmage. When you take
now there was a deep ball to Metcalf that does not count, right? Because it was wiped out by OPI.
Sure. And that, that's a whole nother discussion to have too. That was really, really ticky tack. It felt like, and I mean, we could have a conversation about that, but just a well-managed drive at a point of a game where you really, really needed it, and understanding that this is a Bengals defense that, not tackling well, that gives up a lot of yards after the catch. You want to get the ball in the hands of your available playmakers and Gainwell out in space. Obviously one of those players there, but that was a key point of a key drive in this game, and it great play design even on the touchdown to Gainwell as well on that one there. So not so much as far as pushing the football down the field as much as it was a managed drive, and to overcome a 3rd and 11 and a 1st and 23 were things that we're just not used to seeing this offense do. Especially in key moments of the game. So kudos to Mason on that. And I thought overall throughout the game, for the most part, specifically when Rudolph was in there, that the pass protection was pretty good overall. And look, both of these quarterbacks, both Mason and Aaron Rodgers, I do believe had over 3-second time to throw, snap to throw times in this game, which is also something we haven't seen out of this offense there. So to say the least, that was a very, very important drive. And as you mentioned, the offense had been on the sideline for a long time. I mean, they only possessed the football 3 times in the second half, right?
Really? Only 3 drives.
Right.
Wow.
And the last one was a kneel down.
Oh, yeah. So the 2 defensive scores will do that to you. And so Pittsburgh was outsnapped in this game, though just barely, but you'll take it because you have 2 defensive scores that kind of skew the numbers and give the Bengals more possessions. And kudos to Rudolph for the entire drive, but on those long situations, he didn't have to do a whole lot. Kenneth Gainwell making those plays, both receptions and 20-plus yard gains, and on those moments, the one-handed catch and got downfield and almost scored and then punched in for 5 yards a couple plays later. And so there was I still had issues before Warren got hurt of the rotation between Warren and Gainwell on that last and a half.
And they were not putting Warren on the field in 3rd downs again because I was tracking it religiously.
I could tell. You were tweeting every single time. Yeah, that last first half possession, Warren was not on the field for the final 10 plays. It was Gainwell, and that was frustrating. But you can see why this team likes Kenneth Gainwell. He's a great receiving back. He's a good back in space, not super fast, but has good quickness. The first touchdown beats the rookie linebacker to the corner for the score. He's able to, make some tough grabs. He even had that one crazy out of the end zone one-handed grab on that last drive of the first half too. So this guy certainly has a role to play, and you can see why Pittsburgh likes him, and he was a big source of this offense. Led the team in receptions, 81 yards, and the first running back since Richard Huntley to score 2 touchdowns, receiving touchdowns in a game for the Pittsburgh Steelers back in 1999. Le'Veon Bell never did it, and you think that Bell would have done it for a great receiving back that he was. Never had 2 receiving scores in a game. Gainwell did it in this one. And so you certainly can see why this team signed Kenneth Gainwell. They did it because he caught those first downs on him in Philadelphia last year, and he really lit up the Bengals on Sunday.
And look, even though we just outlined that touchdown drive by Rudolph that included Rudolph and Gainwell playing a part in that. This play gets lost in the wash here. The next, but it was in the first actual possession that Rudolph and the Steelers had in the second half. There, the 3rd and 11 play on the pass to Roman Wilson out to the left side on the out route there was a smartly designed play because Metcalf's going deep, and Rudolph talked about this after the game. They ended up Metcalf ended up taking 3 guys with him that ended up allowing Roman, wide open per se on the out route there up underneath there. That was a 3rd and 11, gotta have it play, because if you don't have that, then a couple of plays later, you don't have the big 3rd down conversion to Darnell Washington that he got a lot of yak on. And I'm not talking about the one where he had the other one in this game, but it was good yak on Darnell Washington. You don't get to that 3rd and 17 play if you don't convert that 3rd and 11 play there. So that, I don't want to say it was a turning point play in the game, but I mean, this is the first drive with Mason Rudolph in there, and you're trying to establish this offense a little bit, get some comfortability, and get the nerves out of Rudolph and all like that. But that 3rd and 11 pass to Roman Wilson for 17 yards was something that gets kind of lost in the wash with the Darnell Washington stuff and all like that we saw in this game.
Yeah, it's a great point by you. It was a really crucial pickup in that moment, that 3-level concept. They have that escort swing underneath, a clear out route by Metcalf, and then the crosser, the over route by Roman Wilson, who, by the way, outsnapped Calvin Austin considerably in this game. I think 37-19 was the final snap count for those guys. Wilson was essentially your number 2 starting receiver in this one. Only had the 1 catch for 17 yards, so same number of catches as Austin. Austin had 1 for 5 on 3rd down. But Wilson certainly dominating the snap count, and we'll see if that continues. But a clear shift in playing time distribution between those 2 guys.
Right.
Which I kind of thought was coming based on what Arthur Smith had said, based on the performance against the Chargers where Wilson played well. Austin had a terrible game, and so you felt that change there. We'll see how it looks going forward. But Gainwell.
And that first drive, the key component, at least you possessed the football. You converted several 3rd downs in that drive. Or a couple of 3rd down. Let's see. You had the first one, 3rd and 2, pass short to Gainwell for 2 yards. That just barely got it out there to the left. So that was a 3rd down conversion. You had the Roman Wilson conversion in that drive, and then you had the 3rd and 17 conversion to Darnell Washington. So you possessed the football. You got Mason Rudolph acclimated to the game there. You ran, how many plays was that overall? 15 plays, and it only came up with a for a field goal overall, but at least you got points out of that drive to give you a little bit of a cushion, 13-9 at that point there. So once again, you only had really 2 true possessions with Rudolph in this game overall, and he managed the offense well. And he did some things that we didn't see this offense really haven't seen this offense do a lot, and that's convert some 3rd down long situations.
Yeah, 2 drives, 1 for a field goal, 1 for a touchdown, combined 27 plays, 126 yards, and took over 13 minutes off the clock. And so that's pretty good showing for 2 drives of an entire half coming in off the bench. And the field goal on that first drive for Rudolph, it matched the field goal for field goal. Bengals go down, kick a field goal to open up the 3rd quarter. Pittsburgh gets a field goal right back. Want to put the ball in the end zone, obviously, but you match field goals with field goals, and that can work whenever you're playing with the lead. So nice job by him. Dave, we got to talk about Darnell Washington. Man, just love watching his clips. And everyone just feels like a giddy school kid whenever they watch Darnell Washington. And to Washington, they all look like school kids because he's just mowing over people. The 31-yarder is a highlight reel play. The 17, I think the 3rd and 17 is just as impressive as the 31-yarder because it's a possession down. You're fighting, you're dragging people along to pick up the sticks in a really key moment there. So Washington already has more receiving yards this year than he did all of last season. And they're using him. They're getting him out there in space. He's running people over. He's just a ton of fun to watch.
And look, even the 3rd and 21 completion to him over the middle there that got 15 yards, and I think that was the one. Didn't he try to?
He hurdled. He went up. Yeah, and he pulled it off.
And look, that didn't convert, and it's so hard to convert 3rd and and 21s as well too. But I think the key aspect of that is it got you some yardage back, and then the ensuing punt, you end up effectively flipping the field, so to speak, because Jones was pushed out of bounds at the 17-yard line. So they're starting their next possession inside their own 20 after you facing a 3rd and 21 from your own 30.
Yeah, it's a good point. I would prefer if he doesn't hurdle in that moment on 3rd and 21 for a fumble, for his own health standpoint. I know he, has done that in the past and it's worked. I don't like doing it as much in the open grass when you got 3 guys around you and you're not near the sticks, but I appreciate the effort and can only imagine the fear of death in this Bengals' eyes as this 300-pound tight end is in the air and you're trying to figure out how I approach that. But a ton of fun to watch, really big part. Also, the blocking, too. He had a key block on one of the Gainwell catches. I think that screen pass on 2nd and long after the Johnson. I think that was the play. But one of those plays, Washington clearing out the way, is an asset on those escort swings. They use him. They use Spencer Anderson, those kind of design swing routes with a lead blocker if Rodgers or the quarterback wants to throw it. So helps you out in a ton of ways, obviously.
A couple of nice blocks, too, by him on a couple of those tosses, too.
Yeah, the toss game was working well early with Jaylen Warren, that 35-yard run. They went back-to-back toss plays on that. Warren found a crease, did the old AB hurdles, kicks a man. There's a lot of hurdling in this game that wasn't always successful, but Warren, before exiting with the injury, had a lot of success on the ground, ran for 62 yards in this game on 10 carries.
Right.
What else here for the offense, Dave? DK Metcalf, couple chances off play pass, couple moments there, couldn't really connect. Deep ball had that one back shoulder fade that was the OPI. I think technically it's the right call. Largely the way the refs will call this, if you have a one-arm push-off, they won't call. If you extend both arms, that's what they usually get you for OPI. So was it egregious? No. Could they have certainly not called it? I wish they wouldn't have, obviously, but I can understand to the letter why that one was flagged.
All right. Yeah, I mean, it definitely is up for debate on that one. I thought it was a little bit ticky-tack there. What did you think about the other OPI on Metcalf? Was that justified?
Pick play?
Yeah.
I didn't get a good look at the replay. It was incomplete too, right? So it didn't take anything off the board. Obviously, there's still the penalty component to it. That one seemed a little more questionable to me.
All right, because he did a great acting job because he immediately settles down and puts his hands up like he's waiting for the football. There, that was the one incomplete over to the left to Pat Freiermuth over there, and then that set up at that point. That's when kind of the wheel that drive there late in the first half. There, you obviously had the Bengals had a lot of penalties too on that drive that helped move, because immediately after that pass interference on DK Metcalf, you got the roughing the passer on Murphy on that, which helped move the sticks.
Yeah, there were 2 roughing the passer calls on on Rodgers, on that drive, which certainly helped an offense that was struggling to find its way. So yeah, the offense still felt like couldn't scheme anything open. Rodgers, some of the quick hitting stuff, the seam balls, they weren't there. Rodgers felt a little frenetic. I got to watch y'all 22. You might be able to speak to it better than I can, Dave, in terms of what was open. Was Rodgers just missing stuff, or was stuff not open? But it was frustrating to see this offense have to pull teeth and struggle so hard for yardage again against not just any defense, but the worst in NFL history, essentially, coming into this game. And so it was frustrating at home with a full week to prepare to not really have a great the game plan was good. The first drive was good, so it was a good script. But then, kind of off that, the Steelers were really struggling to find answers the rest of the first half.
Yeah, they more than anything, if they didn't have the yak in this game, they would have been dead in the water, because they did have problems getting guys open again down the field. Now we hit on that early corner route to Metcalf. That was there. I think Rodgers is mad that they didn't hit that to Metcalf. Was that the wind? How much did the wind play in the passing game, or the decision to go downfield a little bit more? Overall, look, the raw charting last night showed the Steelers had 225 yards after the catch in relation to where the ball was caught in relation to the line of scrimmage. And obviously the Steelers were credited technically with 243 passing yards in the game. So that's a difference of 17 yards overall. Now, once again, if you were to take this and throw out the distance when the ball was thrown behind and caught behind the line of scrimmage, that would lessen your true yards after the catch in relation to yards after. I mean, to where the ball was caught in relation to line of scrimmage. But I mean, it goes without saying, even if you subtract that out, the Steelers had a tremendous amount of yardage after the catch, and that ended up being a huge factor in how they were able to move the football down the field against the Bengals.
What was the longest air yards completion Pittsburgh had in this game? Was it Roman Wilson? Was there anything longer than Wilson's
I
catch?
think that might have been it. Let me see if I can pull
Because
this up real
Gainwell
quick.
was all yak. Washington was basically all yak. Frymouth's one catch for 19 was a lot of yak. Frymouth has always owned the Bengals. Catch was nice. The yak was good, but not much else. Just that one target. Metcalf, the deep shots weren't there. The OPI took that play off the board. I think it was Wilson, which was probably 15 yards air yards, maybe 13 yards air yards.
Let me sort
If you
this
have
out
it.
real quick here. There were only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 passes completed. Oh, let me pull out the penalties as well too.
Yeah, it takes that OPI because that would obviously would have taken the cake had it stood.
Why is this sorting right? Okay, I'm seeing completions by Flacco for air yards of 11. Flacco to Higgins for 20 on the touchdown. Completion to Roman Wilson from Rudolph was 15 air yards. Completion to Higgins for 11 air yards. Completion to Higgins for 22 air yards, and that was it. So you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 completed passes in the game of over 10 air yards, and the Steelers had one of them, the one to Roman Wilson.
Yeah, I was looking for Pittsburgh's longest air yard completion, and so it was to Wilson, the only one over 10 yards, which probably speaks to a little bit of coverage and a little bit of weather and the wind as well.
All right.
But a lot of yak, and that's how Pittsburgh has won. I mean, Pittsburgh are playing perfect weather, and they'd be a yak kind of team. That's how their whole season has gone. They've not gotten the deep ball working, which is a problem for this offense. It has to be rectified if you want to go secure this division and go win a playoff game. But did what you had to do, and you had, again, a lot of guys get involved. Gainwell is now the 10th different Steeler to catch a touchdown pass this season. That ties a single season mark, which was first set back in 2017. So who will be number 11, Dave? Who could set the record? Will it be
How about Scotty Miller?
Scotty Miller? Will Spencer Anderson ever catch a touchdown? You never know. That might be cooking around somewhere in Pittsburgh's playbook. But 10 different guys have caught a touchdown. Gainwell with a pair. And so everybody getting involved in this offense, which is very much in line with what Arthur Smith likes to do.
All right, went into this game wondering about throw out explosive plays, but wanting at least plays of 10 yards or longer from this offense. And all 10 of their top longest plays of the game went over 10 yards. So that's significant there. And then they had 4 explosive plays of 20 yards or longer in this game as well, too. Obviously the early run by Jalen Warren for 35. Darnell Washington going Hulk for 31 yards. The pass over to short right for Gainwell for 28 yards, and the other one to Gainwell for 20 yards there. So we saw 4 explosive plays of 20 yards or longer in this game, with one of them being a run. Hooray for that. And then, like I said, their 10 longest plays of the game all were over 10 yards, and that was good to see a change.
Kenneth Gainwell is only 1 reception behind DK Metcalf for the team lead, and I've had this stat in my back pocket, and I didn't think I would really need to use it. I mentioned it early in the season. I think the last time a Steelers running back led the team in receptions was the 30s or something. I got to pull up the stat. I don't have it offhand right now, but watching for that. And so Gainwell certainly used as an asset. We figured he would catch the ball a lot this year. I had that question before the year. Could he be that rare Steelers runner to have more receptions than carries? That's not going to happen, I don't think, this year because of Gainwell's, role, especially early in the season as a runner. But as a receiver, he certainly has been a very active component of this offense.
Yeah, you can definitely see a lot of things that Mike Tomlin said about after they had signed him and having been burned by them with the Eagles and all. You're definitely seeing the reasons why they liked him.
Caleb Johnson getting some extra work after Warren went down. 5 carries, 15 yards. Good to get him some burn. Just runs tall. That's kind of my thing with him. He's a tall guy in general. He kind of runs high, and there's kind of a lot of surface area, and so it's harder to get some yards after contact with him to really fall forward. They ran the tush push twice. I don't think Connor Hayward got the one.
I don't think he got that one.
It was a weird situation there. But I think Pittsburgh certainly was fortunate to get that call because that one did not look super deserved.
Yeah, but a couple of calls, went against the Steelers, so it was nice to see him get one in that situation, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else here, Dave? Again, still, and I was maybe a little less outraged about the Warren Gainwell split as some others were last week. My focus and critique was more about the third down stuff, and that continued where Warren did not play on third downs. But and that was a 3rd and 2 in this one. Gainwell gets to carry up the middle, gets stuffed. I think it was before the Connor Hayward questionable tush push. How does Warren not get the ball there? It just seems a little baffling to me. I know Warren had a couple carries, but man, in a big moment like that, give him one more carry, and then you can pull him and sub him out. So, end of the half, 10 straight plays. He's not on the field. I don't know. I still don't love that division of labor, even knowing what Gainwell offers as a receiver.
Right, and then once again, third down usage was non-existent for Warren in this game.
Right. So happy that Gainwell came in and played well, and credit to him. Made a bunch of big plays in the second half, but still something to watch whenever Warren does get back, and we'll hope and think he'll play against Chicago on Sunday.
All right, 63 yards for receiving for Darnell Washington. A lot of that came after the catch as well, too. What were some of my first half notes in here? First half drive by the Steelers for 7 points, 3 plays longer than 10 yards on the first drive. Obviously, a big run by Warren in that. The Steelers were just 2 of 7 on third downs to start the game. Fortunately, that got better as the game went along. I have in here no Warren on third downs, lots of Steelers yak. Weird spot on the Hayward tush push first down. Have Darnell, my goodness, you saw it. Rodgers hit a bunch late in the first half. That was a little bit concerning. He was holding the football a little bit longer in this game. Bengals, ton of penalties on the final drive of that first half for the Steelers, but the defense did enough. The Bengals were 4 of 7 on third downs in the first half. Unfortunately, there was the Duggar almost interception. The Steelers defense had good pressure as the first half progressed. I have in here Flacco holding the ball longer, taking some hits. Crazy penalty on Watt. Just 39 yards rushing for the Bengals in the first half. And one explosive play by Cincinnati in the first half. The TD to Higgins, was Sawyer having to end up running with him as the play extended. That obviously is not ideal. 10-6 good guys at halftime.
Yeah, there you go. And then the defense doing its thing with those two defensive scores to help put that game away in the second half. So, again, had that kind of feel of a 2022, 2023 era kind of a victory, but a win is a win is a win.
Yep. All right, what are your thoughts on all the Mason Rudolph versus Aaron Rodgers talk after one half of football?
I mean, it's predictable. No one, the media loves a good quarterback controversy story. If Rodgers is healthy and cleared, he's going to play as he should. I mean, he's struggling some. There's no question about that. His play is not nearly as sharp, but there's no, if he's healthy, he's going to be the guy whenever he does get cleared.
Right. I don't want to take anything away from what Mason Rudolph did, because I thought he managed the game really real well. I thought he made great decisions. He obviously 2 drives, 10 points. That says something. They converted third downs. No matter how you want to look about how those happen, the fact that we're talking about the team not only overcoming negativity with the penalties and all, but converting third downs was huge. They're just really an overall great managed game by him. But, he was not, he only pushed the football down the field really technically the one time when you throw out the OPI on DK Metcalf there. All I will say is that if Rudolph does have to start this game against Chicago, and assuming it's not a windy type situation at Soldier Field, I would expect Rudolph to have a higher intended air yards in this game, and hopefully a more a longer completed air yard distance. I don't have any doubts that Rudolph can run this offense, as has been designed, can potentially maybe even push the football down the field more consistently. But I don't think we should get over our over our skis here with what happened in two possessions in this game.
Yeah, it was a really nice showing. Not taking anything away from him, but Rodgers is gonna start. I mean, that's just the bottom line here. Whenever he's healthy, whenever he's cleared to play. But the other bottom line is, no matter who's your starting quarterback for this game and all the others that follow, this offense must be better. It's been 3 straight games where this offense has underwhelmed, disappointed, or flat out played bad, as they did against the Chargers. 20 points against that your offense scored against this Bengals defense that, again, is historically bad, is not good enough. And so this offense needs to find some more explosive plays down the field, needs to be able to convert more on third down. And in the first half, they were terrible on possession downs. So there's still a lot to work on for this offense, facing some tough tests ahead, including the Bears.
Yeah, and look, this was not I hate to undersell any of, but this obviously was not a great Bengals defense that they faced.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the overall Steelers offensive showing in this game?
A 7.
I'd be much lower than that. I'd be like at a 4. I mean, the offense did nice things in the second half, and that was good, but still a lot of pulling teeth, a lot of the screen game backed up. I don't know. This offense should have done a whole lot better. And the first half was miserable. I mean, that first drive was good, but after that, it sucked. And I was worried, like, oh, you're letting the Bengals hang around. Their offense is going to get going. How long can your defense keep getting stops? This offense, to me, really still did underwhelm.
Well, I went with the expectation into this game, though, that they were going to have a lot of yak, and they got that.
Yeah, it was good, but you need points. You need more success.
Yeah.
You need more being able to sustain. And I didn't see enough of that in this game.
So what would you put it at? A 5?
I gave it a 4. I gave it a 4.
Okay.
Yeah, below average. This offense should have been able to route up the Bengals whole week to prepare, and it just didn't come. And the first half was pretty bad.
All right.
Johnny Smith,
they ran 60 plays.
They got to 60, didn't outsnap the Bengals. The Bengals, those last couple of garbage plays, gave them the edge there. We'll take 60. We're making some progress. My charting a little bit easier last night. Jonnu Smith, 0 catches, 2 targets, the 1 scramble drill. He didn't kind of drift inside the way that Rodgers wanted him to. Again, the chemistry, we talked about it Friday. It's just not there. Smith had a face mask penalty as well. So 35 snaps, face mask penalty, no catches. Jonnu Smith, what's the role here in the offense? Trying to find it.
Yeah, the way he really showed up was a couple of decent blocks on some of the run, on some of the tosses.
Yeah, but looking for more from Jonnu Smith. All right, Dave, any other thoughts here for this offense?
No. I think we obviously we'll talk more about it on Wednesday when we get through the all 22 and all.
Special teams was not spectacular, but solid, and that's all it needed to be in a game like this. Boswell hit his kicks. Waitman was fine. Skronik stayed as the PP. I thought he might bump out with Peppers dressing, but Peppers, I don't even know if he was on the punt coverage unit. It was Roman Wilson, Scotty Miller starting gunners in this game. Kick coverage I thought was excellent. Kick coverage on Charlie Jones, a dangerous returner. We highlighted him Friday. He's got some kick return touchdowns in his resume. He had 6 returns for 23 yards along at 29, and so the kick coverage was great. The kick returns for Pittsburgh, pretty bad, 3 for 21.3 yard average, long at 24, and so got backed up on some of those early drives, 22-yard line, 24-yard line. Got to be better than that.
There is one thing that I want to talk about when it came to the punt returns. The one Calvin Austin decided to return, I think it was at 2:03 in the first half. Was that the one where the ball hit the ground and kind of took off, headed towards? It looked like that, and I know it's tough. I'm not down there. It's obviously not something I do on a regular basis, and Austin did. But I kind of wondered, did Austin make a bad decision there to not let that ball go and see if it went into the end zone?
It seems so. That ball seemed to be rolling into the end zone for a touchback. Instead, Austin picked it up around the 5-yard line, got a couple yards, but that was it, which backed up Pittsburgh's offense. I get, like you said, trying to judge that in the moment. Is that ball going to keep bouncing? Is it going to die at the 2-yard line? Should I pick it up or not? But it seemed like a mistake from Austin.
Yeah, that ball, once it hit, it certainly did take off end over end, uh, and it looked like that thing was going to go into the end zone. And live TV, I'm like, "What?" I was going through all my emotions there, thinking, "Why is he returning this there?" So I that was one of the big questions I had coming out of the special teams performance. Was that one decision there?
Yeah, fair to call that a negative. And so, a couple things to work on special teams, but overall, it was a wash. It didn't kill you, it didn't save you in terms of the overall performances of Pittsburgh's unit versus the Bengals unit. So, I'll take it.
All right.
All right, Dave, anything else? I should have mentioned we have a live stream tonight. So if anyone who's made it through this whole episode, Dave and I will answer your Steelers questions at 7 p.m. Eastern time. But anything else, Dave? If not, we can get to some reader emails and close out today's show.
All right, let's see what we got in the email machine this morning. Let's start with Zachary Watt, who writes in, sticking with these personnel changes. Hey, Dave and Alex, crazy game. My takeaway from all this, we're better without Slay. Mason is fresher, and it showed, and Warren needs a break, he says. I think that Mason lacks in IQ and pinpoint accuracy compared to Rodgers. He says, I think what Mason lacks in IQ and pinpoint accuracy compared to Rodgers, he makes up for speed and in speed and comfortability in the pocket, probably keeps us at the same level of quality, maybe 10% better. Number two, he says, I say let Rodgers rest, keep Warren week to week, and split the load evenly when he comes back. He says Slay stays out. Ramsey starts at safety. He says give Washington, Gainwell, Duggar, and Pierre their flowers and leave the lineup like this is to see how it performs against a team that's actually prepped for it. I think there's a lot of knee jerk within there overall outside of the Pierre versus Slay conversation, which I think needs to be had.
Yeah, that's going to be can we stop there for a second?
Yeah.
What is going to happen? Let's assume Slay gets cleared. He practice limited Friday, probably gets through protocol by midweek. What do you do there?
And Pierre is playing some good football right now, and Slay really is
Was not.
Yeah, was not, and very inconsistent and all like that. Of all that what Zach Watt writes here, I do think that some conversations need to be had there.
Yeah, it'll be a great question, and I wonder. Tomlin, I assume, will probably deflect during his Tuesday presser. If asked, he'll say, "Well, Slay's got to go through protocol. We don't know if he's coming back yet. All that kind of stuff." He can probably use that as a shield for the presser. But if Slay is cleared, I definitely want to see what that looks like there. Everything else I'm with you feels a little knee-jerk. It's funny, a week ago we're saying, how do you play Kenneth Gainwell? Get him out of there. Now it's
Right.
play Kenneth Gainwell. Gainwell certainly can have a role. I was never opposed to him getting some snaps, but Warren's still your dude, your lead guy, and if he's healthy, and he should be, then he's going to play hopefully a normal role. Maybe there could be some sort of reduction to if Warren's still feeling that ankle injury some, but he's going to be the guy, and Rodgers will be the guy. I don't think Rudolph has a whole lot more speed than Rodgers, a little bit, but it's pretty negligible. He did look a little more comfortable in the pocket, but the ball was still coming out pretty quick. A lot of screen game, a lot of quick game type of stuff. There weren't a lot of true dropbacks for Rudolph in this game.
As far as the whole Duggar Ramsey thing, I think that's I don't think anything's going to change there. I think you continue to roll with that, assuming you got the bodies and all in the secondary.
Yeah, just a question of will Ramsey play? I mean, if you don't have Ramsey for this game, you got a couple of great tight ends you got to face, and I always forget his last name. You got Komet and Love Stan. Is that his name? Love Land. I want to say Love Stan. It's Colston, Love Land, and Cole Komet are some tight ends you would love to have Ramsey be available to cover.
All right. All right. Jason Chadwell writes in first, horrible roughing the passing call on Watt. However, it does seem like he has lost a step. Was anyone else excited once Rudolph was going in? The offense seemed cooked up to that point. Plus, we know Rudolph will stand in the pocket and push the ball down the field. See, I think a lot of people get stat reliant in there. Once again, Rudolph. How much did it win? Once again, here's the thing that I said about Rudolph. I think you will see if Rudolph has to start against the Bears, I do think you'll see him push the football down the field. But the fact of the matter is, He wasn't really asked to, and really didn't have people open down the field to push the football down the field in those two possessions. We're talking about two possessions here in 27 plays.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it was good possessions. I'm not discrediting
Right.
Rudolph. I didn't feel despair whenever Rudolph was coming, and I felt like, okay, this guy's proven it. He can run the offense and come off the bench. Let's go put up some points. So it was not a feeling of, oh my God, the backup's going in, like you might get for other teams or other seasons. But, if Rodgers is healthy, he's going to play. Now, will they give him the week? They could. We got to figure out what the imaging today shows. If there's surgery, then I assume for sure he's not going to be playing just based off of that alone. So, I'm confident that they can still win a game if Rudolph has to start this weekend.
Agreed. Even though Gainwell had a good game, is he the new Cordell Patterson? Arthur Smith overly obsessed with him? Question mark. I wouldn't say that. I would just look. There have been times where I thought Gainwell has touched the ball too much, forced kind of touches in games, and there's obviously been times where Gainwell has made the most out of his touches, with Sunday against the Bengals being one of those there. Uh, Warren is the better true runner, and he can give you things in the passing game as well too. I'm still scratching my head a little bit of why Warren just can't. I'm not saying all the third downs, but
Mm-hmm.
why can't he get in on the field on some of these 3rd and 3 or shorter type situations? That would be my biggest question overall. Is there any sense of you that Arthur Smith is overly obsessed with Kenneth Gainwell?
No, the division of labor is clear. Gainwell is a third down back and the primary pass situation back. That's what Gainwell plays. That's not an obsession. That's just the role they've carved out for the division of labor in the running back room. But I'm with you. There should be still some third down moments where Warren can still play. He should not be completely exiled from every third down situation. He grew up. He cut his teeth as a third down back. That's how he first started playing on offense. Was spelling nausea on third downs in his rookie season. And so Warren is very more than capable third down back. Aaron Rodgers loves throwing to him. I think he provides some confidence for Rodgers. So yeah, there should be a little bit of a tweaking there, but it's not an obsession. It's pretty clear what their roles are. We just think they should be a little less clear on Gainwell being the every down third down pass situation back.
Agreed. All right, Anthony Morgan, quick questions here. Coaching or players? A few weeks ago against the Colts, it came out that Jalen Ramsey did a pregame speech. The defense played lights out. Does that prove more or less that it's not a coaching issue, more of a hustle inspiration thing? He says, I noticed that this week too, when Jalen was hitting, the defense was making plays, the crowd was into it, and the defense seemed to play better other than on third down. How much of the Steelers defense struggles is scheme, and how much of it is lack of inspiration? We got a chicken and an egg here overall. Look, the plan, I think, overall seemed better this time around, the defensive plan. And also, once again, you got Ramsey and Duggar at safety. They didn't blitz Flacco a lot. The pass rush seemed better. They were making Flacco hold the ball. How much did the wind play in all this? The biggest thing where it comes to effort and all, we've seen kind of after the catch, closer to the goal line, I think, more than anything in these last several games, right?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I got distracted by something.
When it comes to effort on defensive side of the ball, the times it's been questioned the most, it seems to be after the catch near the goal line.
Yeah, I think the effort overall has been good for the defense. There's been some moments, some of the goal line stuff. I know that Slate play against the Packers, it's been talked about a lot. But I mean, on the whole, this defense has not shown bad effort this year.
All right. How much of coaching versus hustle inspiration? In other words, he asked, how much of the Steelers defense struggles is scheme, and how much of it is lack of inspiration?
That's really hard to try to nail down from afar. I use the phrase, it takes a village. It's a team. You win as a team, and everyone has to do their part. And at different times, different people help play that role. Sometimes you need that galvanizing speech from Ramsey. Sometimes you need a great scheme from the coaches. Sometimes you just need players to go out there and do their job and that kind of stuff. So this is not, I don't always try to break it down in terms of what percentage is as inspiration versus scheme. I mean, obviously we talk about a lot of those things, but it's a team for a reason, and you win as a team, you lose as a team. You rely on everybody to help, find victory and do whatever it takes to create victory. And sometimes it's a player giving a speech. Sometimes that's guys, with a good scheme, guys going out there making plays. It's often all of the above. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's kind of everything.
All right, Brian Tellini in here. Credit where credit is due. The defensive scheme worked. Kudos to all involved for shutting down a very talented wide receiver duo. Look, I mean, it goes without saying that they did a great job against these, and your cornerback stats show that first and foremost there, Alex. He says 2 things for today. Outside of the Vikings and Browns games, Patrick Queen has been below average inside linebacker. He seems like an athletic freak, but his eyes and instincts leave a lot to be desired, and I thought he had a pretty rough game yesterday. See, I thought Queen played a pretty good game personally. Now, I haven't made it through the second half of the all 22, but I saw him pop coming downhill against the run. I thought in this game against the Bengals. He says, despite the praise received from the coaching staff, I can't imagine this is the type of play they anticipated from him when they wrote the check. All right, first, has there been some inconsistency to Patrick Queen's play this year? Yes.
Sure. The tackling's a big issue. He's missed a ton of tackles. We talked about that on the Friday show, or Josh Carney does the charting. The missed tackles might be the biggest issue with Patrick Queen right now.
Right. How did you think? I mean, you charted this thing. How did you think Patrick Queen played against the Bengals?
Well, when I chart, I'm not always looking at what happens after the snap, except for the couple categories in terms of targets and blitzes and that kind of stuff. It's less evaluation of players. So I got to go back and watch it tape. It didn't seem bad. The 2-point conversion, he had the first man in there to pop the running back to keep him short of the goal line. So that was good. But I don't have a great feel. Communication seemed really good, and that's positive. And that's not just Queen, but it starts with Patrick Queen. And so it's always good to communicate. And even though you're at home, it's hard for the defense to communicate at home because the crowd is loud for the opposing offense to make their life tough. Put those guys on a silent account, but the crowd always has the same effect on Pittsburgh's defense. So it's easier to communicate defensively on the road than it is at Acrisure. So I got to watch it, but on first blush, it seemed like just a good performance to me. It seemed fine.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. From the what it's worth category, Pro Football Focus does not have Patrick Queen down as any missed tackles yesterday. We'll see what Josh Carney comes up with when he rolls through the tape this afternoon.
How did they grade Queen? Not that we're beholden to grades, but just to get their perspective.
What do they have on Queen? They have him as the 5th highest grade on defense, overall grade of 77.
Okay.
They gave him 70.3 against the run, 84.5 as a tackler. In fact, he had the best tackling grade on defense. 71.3 as a pass rusher and a coverage grade of 70.6. So, an overall grade of 77 is probably going to be one of Patrick Queen's better graded performances, at least if you buy into the whole Pro Football Focus thing, which many of you don't.
Yeah, but just to get that thought and lens. So from their standpoint, I mean, generally PFF, a lot of debate about it, but often whenever they say a guy has either a really good game or a really bad game, they're not too far off in most cases. Right. You can debate, exactly how good or how bad of a game it was, but usually it's not like a guy has a terrible game and he gets a really good grade or vice versa. It's happened occasionally. I know Derek Carmen got killed in run defense in that Browns game, and they're totally wrong about that. But anyway, we've said our piece about PFF.
All right. He says the way this team attempts to run the tush push is questionable at best. He says you're essentially playing 10 versus 11 with Aaron Rodgers standing there warming his hands in his pockets. Why not replace him with more muscle rather than having him stand there? Like, we already kind of addressed this. I mean, yeah, you can make an argument that you could put another player on there to help push and all like that. But you're probably not going to see Aaron Rodgers come off the field or do anything different in tush-push situations.
Yeah, what's that 11th guy supposed to do? Where's he pushing? I mean, you're getting that surge up the line, so you put a guy on the end of the line of scrimmage, he's not really going to do much for you. You can't add an extra pusher. You already have the 2 pushers. Plus, to get the call in, to maybe make it a little less obvious for running the tush-push, that kind of stuff. It's fine. The question is, will there be any variation off the tush-push? Will Pittsburgh go that extra level? We saw the Ravens do that against the Browns. They had Mark Andrews kind of pivot around and take off for a big touchdown run. Will Pittsburgh ever do something like that? I'm not really in favor of it, but that's kind of the question I have about the next evolution of the tush-push.
One last one here so we can get out of here at noon Eastern time, top of the hour right now. Deshaun Campbell. Sup, guys? Two things I wanted to point out and ask. Wondering, did you guys notice the Bengals left tackle constantly false starting, getting a beat on Herbig and the refs not calling it at all? Look, if you listen to the podcast on Friday and Jay Morrison said that, pointed that out to us as well too. So he's got that timed enough where he's not getting called on that.
Yeah, like you said, like Jay said, that's what Brown does. He's one of those tackles that has that thing down pat, like Jawan Taylor has had in the past. So not surprised to see that happen during the game. I thought Herbig still had a good performance. It kind of took some time to warm up to Brown, but Herbig's really had some good rushes against Orlando Brown, who's a highly paid, decorated left tackle. So yeah, that was to be expected. I was not surprised, and I think I guess they're not false starts. They're not being called.
Right, and that's part of the good thing about us having on beat writers from other teams, right? They're able to point things out like that. While might be obvious to some, maybe not as much obvious to us because we don't follow them on a regular basis. So,
Right.
we weren't shocked, to say the least, Deshaun. He says also this may have already been spoke upon, but should Tomlin consider starting Pierre over Slay? He's been on all year and seems he could be playing himself into a nice 2-year contract extension. Alex and I had that conversation and are to the point where we think indeed, yes, Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin need to have the conversation about maybe putting Pierre out there over Slay. We'll see. I got a funny feeling we might not see that. What does your gut tell you is going to happen there?
I don't have a great gut feeling. They should, and I'm not even the biggest basher of Slay, not that I've been touting his play, but it's hard to sit there and say go back to the bench, James Pierre. Although, with all due respect, with how often Darius Slay gets hurt, it might not take that long for Pierre to come into the game against Chicago if Slay does get this start. So I really don't know. It's a fascinating story that I really want to pay attention to. And I'm also thinking about the offseason. How much will it take to retain this guy? I don't think you're going to get him for the minimum like you had been, assuming his play continues this way the rest of the season.
Well, look, if you play him more and he continues to make play, the meter's running, right?
Right. I mean, honestly, because good corners get paid. You can go out there and cover in man coverage, you get paid. So, what is his value right now?
I will leave it at this: if the Steelers want to bring James Pierre back on a 2-year contract, I don't think they will have any issue getting it done.
But how much will it cost? What is his? If he was a free agent today, which I know there's a season still to play, but it's not the minimum.
Look, right, but we still technically have a small sample size, though, too. We still have, what, seven games left, right?
Yes.
I would put an average yearly value on him right now about $3 million.
Feels low to me. What was Akella Witherspoon's contracts? In 2022, he signed a 2-year, $8 million extension. I feel like that's the floor for Pierre. And that was a couple years ago,
you do have some inflation going and all like that. So maybe $4.5 million if you can lock him up on a 2-year deal. No guaranteed money in the first year. Maybe something that puts almost $5 million in his pocket for him for 2026. And obviously he's going to have a prime role on special teams and all, but I'm hesitant to sit here and call him an $8 million guy with $7 million with seven games left in the season. I will say that I think we should see more of James Pierre on defense.
Yeah, sure. No, I get it. I mean, we'll have a whole offseason to talk about the offseason, and if he goes out there and struggles, then obviously this could change dramatically. But I just wonder if some other team this offseason says, wow, Pierre's a good player. Let's go try to sign him. Could there be some other teams that show interest in James Pierre?
Look, nobody's been praising him and taking notice of his play more than you and I have last couple of weeks, right? But within that, I don't want to be a prisoner of the moment or moments in these last few games. Yeah, they've been good. He's been impacting some games. Let's hope it continues here. But I don't want to get hung by my own tongue for saying, oh, you got to sign this guy for $8 million per right now.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. But it's been more than just one game. And you're not saying that, but I mean, he's coming off the bench several times this year. He played great against the Chargers. He played great against the Bengals. So it's not just he had one good game or one half of good action and we're having this conversation. This is now several games, the course of the entire season. And I'm just wondering where this thing might be headed in terms of him as a free agent. And then obviously there is the question about if Slay is cleared this week, what is the plan at cornerback? That's a front and center discussion Pittsburgh will have to have if Slay is cleared, which is certainly possible.
And look, this is a guy, if you describe James Pierre in one word, it's available too. Right?
Yeah, so he's played more games than anybody else in 2020.
The guy is available. And he has not let, the last several games obviously has not let you down. And a prime gunner, one of the better gunners in the NFL. And not that I sit here and watch gunner tape around the NFL all week, but there's a reason you and I, every time he's gone somewhere else and becomes open, we say, got to get this guy back to be a gunner.
Yeah, the reason why he came back last year when Pittsburgh had no gunners and they had to add Skoranek and they added Pierre because the internals were terrible. I mean, I would say available. He's also a fighter. This dude has fought. He's scratched. He clawed. I know they've told this story 74 times on the broadcast about him being a COVID guy and trying to make the team, but he's had long odds. He's bounced around rosters. He's been a fringe guy, having to fight every single camp to stick. He's a fighter, and he's finally finding some traction. Good for him.
All right, I just think the end statement here that Alex and I both agree with here is there should be conversations about Pierre over Slay moving forward. Period.
Not to belabor this conversation and also to invoke PFF again, but where does Pierre rank among corners this year? I'm just curious in coverage. He's got to be up there. I think somebody said he was like a top 5 corner going into this game. He is, let me see if I can do this right.
He had a 90.9. He's got a 90.9 season grade from PFF on 176 snaps on the season. So for whatever that's worth.
According to PFF, even if guys that are qualifiers, where I put 20% of the snaps, he is PFF's number 1 rated cover corner in the NFL by a wide margin. He's 90.7. The next closest is 83.3. So PFF says he is the best cover corner in football this season.
Okay, there you go.
Who would have guessed that in August?
All right, let's hope it continues. Let's hope let's hope that he gets rewarded for this and he gets playing time over Slay moving forward.
Yeah, and you got to run through the tape. Got to keep it going. Keep bringing it. The Bears are tough offense. They got good players, a great scheme. So more challenges await than Buffalo and Detroit later this year and Baltimore twice. So a lot more to watch.
All right, Alex, that's all we can get to right now as far as emails. If you got any more, want them re-bumped up, send them to us for Wednesday's show there. Tell the folks one more time about our live stream tonight.
Yeah, Dave and I answering those questions at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Just search my name on YouTube, Alex Kozora, and you can find us there, and it should be a more enjoyable conversation. I think it was in the last couple of these live streams after wins, which has been fortunate timing. So we'll see you guys later today.
All right. In the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter /X at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex at Alex_Kozora. He's already hammering out the film rooms and all. So has a great breakdown of the Duggar interception and plenty more film rooms to come. So follow Alex at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and want to donate, SteelersDepot.com. Hit the donate button. Also, if you like a ad-free version of the site, SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button and follow all the directions as usual that way. Until Wednesday, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.